Dissecting the Sixers loss. Tyrese Maxey has a concussion, and Buddy Hield has to be more consistent. We'll talk about that and more next on Locked On 76.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Well, there's two ways to look at this, right? If you're a guy who's a half glass, half full type of guy, or if you're someone searching for a moral victory, you'll say that the Sixers fought hard with their two all-stars, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, out, right? But a realist would say that they self-destructed in the game they were winning against a struggling team. And it's true. That's what happened. The Sixers lost last night, being Tuesday night. I'm about to say Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, so happy Wednesday. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets 112-107 Tuesday night. Now, my name is Keith Pompey. I'm one of the co-hosts of Locked On 76er. And this was a bad loss, y'all, the way that I look at it. I mean, the Sixers were up 14 in the first quarter. They were getting ready to get out there and boat race a team that was undermanned. Now, I get it. Tyrese Maxey was out. We already know that Joel Embiid has been out for a minute, but you got Tyrese Maxey out. Campaign comes in and he's playing with the flu. You got a lot of other things. But when you look at it, how the 76ers lost, it was crazy. I mean, the Sixers jumped out, like I said, a commanding 14-point first quarter lead before their offense became stagnant. It was stagnant because they went away from the drive and kick game and settled for some contested three-pointers early in the shot clock, right? The shots didn't go in, leading to the 14-point lead quickly evaporating. And this is what Nick Nurse had to say after the game, right? He says, we made some not so smart plays. We fouled a three-point shooter 3 times. That's a big momentum switch too. I think we were up 8 at that point, and they got 5 of it back on one of those plays, right? We played pretty. We just didn't play well enough to win the game. So he's right. They played pretty well, but they just didn't play well enough to win the game. And then the thing about the fourth quarter, it just seems like they doubled the Sixers up in points. I mean, they kept coming at them. And then not only that, the Sixers they fouled three-point shooters, had costly turnovers. They did a lot of other things. Now, you look at it and you say, all right, I keep harping back. They didn't have Maxey, all-star, leading scorer on the team with Joel Embiid out. But they were up 14. And no offense to Maxey, but he's not like a lockdown defender. Now, he's an improving defender, but he's not a lockdown defender. Well, this team was getting layups left and right, scoring at will. Sixers couldn't stop them at all. I mean, they couldn't do anything to them. So when we talk about how, they didn't have Maxey, they didn't do this. Well, what the Sixers didn't do? It was a lot that they didn't do, right? They just looked bad. It was a bad one. I mean, you know, um, it was one of those things when we talked about the fourth quarter, right? It was one of those things. Let me make sure I get this right for y'all, because it was crazy how they doubled them up. Let's see. Let's see. They had 27 points. Let's see. 27. Let me see what it is. Yeah. Brooklyn outscored the Sixers, and I'm sorry for taking forever, but Brooklyn outscored the Sixers 28-15 down the stretch to improve to 25-37. I mean, it was crazy. And some of those 15 that came from Buddy, but some of them, at least 5 of them, came when you knew the game was all but decided. They ended up winning by 5, but they were up like by a lot. You know what I mean? They were up by a lot, and it made it seem a little bit better, right? But it was like a little bit too late, so to speak, right? And then you talk to Nurse again. He says, "Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of our offense wasn't performing well. They were playing in transition a lot. We weren't scoring enough of a little, scoring enough of a little. We got a little stagnant down there as far as continue to move and cut and things like that. Then we just had to guard the ball a little bit better or help a little bit better on the defensive end. They didn't do any of that. Now, the one thing that I will say is the Sixers' small ball lineup has been excelling, right? I mean, they had a lot of success with the small ball lineup. It didn't work out that way tonight. It just didn't. I mean, in that fourth quarter, they took Mo Bamba off the floor. They took uh, Paul Reed off the floor early on, and then they went with that small ball lineup, and they just couldn't match up against them. They couldn't. I mean, they were getting destroyed. Guys were blowing by them. Guys were like throwing like stuff up to the paint. Like to the post. Like a guy would be crashing, and a guy would throw it to him, and they jump up and get it. This and that. I mean, uh, Brooklyn had 10 offensive rebounds. I mean, they out rebounded the Sixers. They out hustled them. And that was the first time when you like, hey, I think it's time to take them out. So what happened is when the Sixers did come back a little bit, it was because they put Paul Reed back in that center. And then that worked out for him a little bit. But I'm here to tell you, this was a bad showing by the Sixers. It was horrible. I mean, it's one of those ones where you look at it and if you're the Sixers, you're saying to yourself, you're kicking yourself because you had an opportunity to make a statement. I mean, it was right there for them, and they just didn't do it. I mean, this was a game that they should have won. Now they slid from fifth in the standings, and the funny thing is, they were a half a game out of fourth place. So they slid from fifth in the standings um, to now they're number seventh in the Eastern Conference standings with 21 games left. So you say to yourself, they got a rough stretch coming up beginning next week. So you say to yourself that this team right now might be destined for a playing game unless Joel Embiid comes and elevates them. But right now, they look that way. Now, again, they had a good game against Dallas. And I was one of the guys drinking the Kool-Aid and I was saying all types of things. But that was a great win. But this one was a bad one because, you talk to Nick Nurse, we're still trying to figure things out. And I get it. Maxey didn't play. Joel Embiid didn't play. But this team looked different. Effort looked different compared to the other one. And what I mean is there were guys who were trying, but it was like that sustained effort. That they also weren't able to step up their game and play well down the stretch. And that's what killed them as well. So it was a lot of things, right? Let me talk about passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered, right? It does. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, right? So, with all the parts you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items apply. Exclusions apply, right? And eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers, right? That's it. Only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV app. Today, people, definitely do it today. Look, I mean, the Sixers played poorly. I felt like they let a game go that they should have won. If it wasn't for that, I would have talked about Tyrese Maxey first, right? Um, Tyrese Maxey sidelined with a mild concussion. He must clear protocol before returning. With that being said, the Sixers don't have a timeline on this return. But there's a lot of people in Philly a little disappointed right now because they felt like Tyrese Maxey should have never returned to the game when they played the Dallas Mavericks. Now, for some of y'all who don't know, what happened is, and they played the Mavericks on Sunday. So what happened is, with around 4 minutes, not around, but at 4 minutes left, Tyrese Maxey's driving to the basket. He slips and he gets like inadvertently hit in the back of the head, right? So he's on the ground in pain. It's a bad hit. Everyone on TV saw it. It was a rough one, right? So he comes out of the game. He goes to the bench and he goes to the back. Now, when he goes to the back, he goes to the back with his mom, no, excuse me, his father, uh, security, um, doctors from the medical staff from both teams. I'm telling you, he was back there quickly. Like because they walked past where the media was sitting at. So he goes back there, and then next thing you know, a couple minutes later, he's back out. And he goes back out. I mean, I'm talking about it was quick. He goes back out. He goes and he sits on the bench, and then next thing you know, it's the start of the fourth quarter, and he checks in. Well, after the game, he was reevaluated again. But then it's one of those things where on Monday he wakes up and he has concussion-like symptoms. And you're like, whoa, I thought y'all said this was cool, right? I thought y'all said this was fine. Well, next thing you know, now he has a concussion, right? He basically he's in pain He's having his concussion-like symptoms. They scratched him from yesterday's game against the Nets, and he's back and he goes back to Philly to be further evaluated, right? And so Nick Nurse was asked about it, and Nick said, I asked like, "Yo, isn't this kind of strange?" Because I asked him, I said, "Here's a guy, he has a concussion, but he's evaluated twice and cleared, and then has a concussion." And Nick said it is a delayed mild concussion. So they didn't really see the symptoms right away. And he wakes up the next day and they're there, right? Now I was talking to a reporter who told me that his brother was a baseball player. And he had a head injury, and he gets up and he finishes the game and he plays, and he made miraculous plays for his team to win this baseball game. It's like a championship game. On the ride home, his brother asked his dad who won. And so he was like, while what Nick said sounds crazy, it could actually be real, a delayed, because that's what his brother experienced, right? So, but now you look at it and you have a problem. Like Nick Nurse said, yesterday he said, I assume he's going to be out tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies, right? And Nick says, we're not rushing it. That kind of stuff you can't rush. You don't rush him. So after the Sixers face the Grizzlies, they'll travel back here to New York. I'm in New York, getting ready to hop on this train for a 2-game series against the Knicks on Sunday and Tuesday at Madison Square Garden. From there, they'll have the Milwaukee Bucks at Pfizer Forum. So they'll play the Milwaukee Bucks on Thursday at Pfizer Forum, right? So it's crazy how everything is going to come up, and they may not have the services, at least for a couple of those games, of their best player right now. Because, yes, I know that Joel Embiid's the best player on the team, but we're talking about right now. Right now, the best player on the team is Tyrese Maxey, and it appears that he will not be available for at least, the immediate future. Now, who knows? There's a 5-step thing. You have to follow all steps. And if he doesn't follow those steps, he won't play. So it's not one of those things, now that he's in the protocol, it's not one of those things where you can just say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do, and everything is going to be good. No. He has to clear protocol in order for him to play in these games, right? So we'll see how that works out. We'll see if we'll see how Maxey plays. But right now, Champagne stepped up. He played well for the Sixers. He's sick, but he still played well for the Sixers. So we'll see, but I don't know if the Sixers will win. I don't know, man. They got a tough slate because you got the Pelicans, you got Memphis, you got the Pelicans. I mean, if he misses those 5 games, I don't see them beating the Knicks, nor do I see them beating Milwaukee. I just don't. I don't see them meeting Milwaukee even with him, unless Milwaukee just like sleepwalks. I'm sorry. Tonight is going to be a tough one too. I mean, it is. So I don't know. Maybe they can win Friday, and even that's going to be tough because Zion has a lot of success against the Sixers. So that's going to be tough as well. So I don't really know, man. It's going to be crazy for them right about now. It really is. It's going to be crazy for the Sixers in regards to trying to get wins. It's going to be crazy. Like if loss mount, you're going to see how people react to that. It's just a lot going on right now. And you think about it, this would have been a great win for them. It would have been. It would have been a confidence boost. It would have been a solid victory. Instead, it's one of those losses where you get away and you're shaking your head like, how did we mess that up? Honestly, how did we mess that thing up? Because they should have won this one. They should have. No ifs, ands, or buts. The 76ers should have won this game. I want to talk to y'all about better help, right? Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things are really can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your feelings. So today, I want to talk to y'all about BetterHelp. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team. It is important to get things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, and suited for your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first purchase. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ locked on NBA. I'm telling y'all, do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Now, Buddy Hield took a little exception to my line of questioning yesterday, last night, after the game. But Buddy Hield hasn't been playing well. Now, Buddy Hield had 3 3-pointers yesterday. He made 2 of them, but 2-point shots. Buddy missed 1 of 6. So I asked him after the game, how can you get yourself back on track shooting the ball? And his response was, what do you mean? Like, basically, I made 2 or 3 threes. And I said, yeah, but you were missing layups. And he was like, well, I'm paraphrasing now. He was like, well, that happens, right? So he didn't really seem, he seemed agitated with the question, but he didn't seem like agitated with the performance. So it went down like this, you know, I'm just gonna say how it went. He had 2 or 3, he went 1 for 6. And all this comes after Hill made just 34.9% of his overall shots in his previous 4 games. That's the reason why I asked him about how can you get yourself improved. And he was like, well, I was 2 for 3 today, right? And that's when Hill was reminded he missed a couple of bunnies. And he comes back and he says, I miss layups. You miss a layup. It's different. You were talking about jump shots. It's different. I miss, if I miss layups, sometimes you miss a layup. It's not like it's an art. You just put the ball on the backboard. Talking about jump shots, I was 2 for 3 today. I just got to make layups. So he didn't really like the line of questioning. It went on from there a little bit. But then Nick Nurse realized that Hill's shooting has been consistent. The coach preached patience and letting stuff come to you in regards to Hill becoming more consistent. And this is what Nick said. I think that he is a semi high volume 3-point shooter for sure. A semi high volume shooter in general. And sometimes I think you have to wait and settle and wait until drives and kicks and all those things come to you. I thought it got a little impatient and he was chasing the ball a little bit, looked a little anxious to score to me, right? So, Nurse pointed out that the Sixers run several plays for Hill. They just have to execute them a little more cleanly. And Nurse said, finding ways to get him going. So there it is. They got to get him going. But, Buddy has to play well. Like, in order for them to be successful, they need Tobias, Maxey, Buddy, and Kelly Oubre playing well. And the reason why is Kyle Lowry is more of a distributor, but these guys got to provide the offense. And Buddy can't be out there missing bunnies. He just can't. He has to play better. He has to. He probably doesn't want to hear that, but he has to play better. He does. I mean, he started off strong with the Sixers, but this guy can't miss bunnies. He has to play better. He has to play better for them to be successful, and he knows that. And maybe that's why he got a little upset because I brought it up, but he knows he has to play better. Now, listen, I want to thank y'all for listening. I really do. I want to make sure you guys have a blessed day. I want you guys to know that um, Locked on 76ers is free and available, and you can get it wherever you get your podcast at. This is part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Every day. And just to remind you guys again that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV app. Again, I want to thank y'all for listening and have a blessed day. Peace.